My CEO wants more innovation and I don't know what to do. This was a question that was asked of me. I got an email from somebody, from a follower, that's wondering how they can make their organization more innovative because their CEO, there's a push from higher management to want to create more innovation within the organization. I'm going to give you a really interesting answer that I think is counterintuitive, and a lot of people don't want to hear this, and so you have to stick with me throughout this message. So the first thing I want you to understand is that innovation is a scary thing. You're doing things that are different, that a lot of people don't like. And despite the fact that there is often a push and an encouragement between senior level managers and other people where they say that they actually want something innovative, in fact, they often don't. And it's because innovation has a massive cost to it. Now, we do know in the long run that more innovation in general has a correlation with long run performance, but it's not necessarily true always. There's a massive risk that's associated with doing things that are innovative. It's very, very costly to do innovative things. Now, the problem is that when you do those innovative things, it'll immediately look like you're wasting your time, you're wasting resources, and it looks problematic to most people. And you're not going to see a return for 10 years. You're maybe not going to see a return for 20 years. And you pick the innovative effort. It's almost always that way. And it's challenging to capitalize on these innovative efforts. So most people will go towards these innovative efforts and stop. And now the other thing I want to remind you of doing innovative things is often very scary, and you're doing things that are counterintuitive to the rest of the organization that people just don't get. And so there is generally challenges that you face to be more innovative. So how can you be more innovative? What does that actually look like? What would I encourage you to do? I would encourage you to focus on building a culture where you're okay with doing goofy and weird things. So what does that mean? You work on the little tiny things where there's cues where somebody wants to do something goofy, and you just say, it's okay. You can go do those goofy things. You work on those little things where you don't have to checkbox everything for people to do those little tiny steps along the way. And I realize that's challenging given the sort of special scenario where you're working in a laboratory where you sometimes need safety protocols checked off. I recognize that, but that's often the case where you have to think about how you can remove some of the psychological barriers. And then if there is a mistake, and there's going to be lots of mistakes, lots of errors, lots of failures along the way, it's not going to be the way that senior level managers often sort of display, or society displays. Then you do an innovative thing and all of a sudden you get this nice return. No, you're going to do an innovative thing that's going to flop. So the first flop, the first 50 flops, the first 50 problems that you experience, 100 problems that you experience, you say, that's okay. I trust that you are doing the right thing, and I encourage you to keep doing those right things. Now that is going to take a quantitative leap for everybody to think like this, and for everybody to sort of work through these moments where you're just not going to have the right results. And there might be a real big problem that it creates when you have more innovation. And so you need to work on a lot of both the psychological stuff that you are going to have to process, and everybody else in the organization is going to have to process, because it is very much a psychological, deep problem that you experience where you have to say, I'm okay doing this, and this person's okay doing this. I love the fact that they're doing something that's goofy and something that's unusual. I want them to do those things that are unusual. And so it's a real change of how you think about things in the organization. And it means when you see people that are doing innovative things, you just give them an encouragement. You just say, just love what you're doing. And this goofy thing that you're doing, keep doing it. That is hard to do. And I think that's deeply what we really need to do to sort of encourage innovation. A lot of that has to do with, there's this sort of notion about psychological safety. I really believe in that. And what that is the ability to allow people to speak up, an ability for people to admit that they made a mistake. And so you have to work on these sort of small things where you encourage other people to do mistakes and to do things that they are afraid to do. And then if somebody makes a mistake, you try to work through it and you say, hey, let's go through this. Let's think about this. How do we change this? What does this look like? And not make it into this sort of long, big ordeal, but make it into an encouraging thing and maybe clap up mistakes. Maybe in your organization, you need to have a big goof award where you clap up where somebody does a big goof, right? And you encourage them to do those things, and you actually pay them for doing a big goof, right? Like if they screw something up, you pay them more. And I know that seems really counterintuitive and really difficult to sort of get your head around it, but it's all about giving people the room to do things that are different, the room to explore things. Now, some of the best organizations give people, such as like 3M, I think 3M started doing this. They gave people just 10% of their time or 20% of their time just to work on anything. And they were encouraged to do those things. And the wilder and crazier the idea, the more that they would get rewarded and the more that people would share about these ideas. So have maybe a moment every month or every year where people share about the craziest stuff that they're working on and encourage those crazy, interesting things. So you can see it's a far different thing than getting people just to say, hey, just, be more innovative. Good luck. It's a lot more of giving people support and, giving them a smile instead of a frown when there's a mistake. It's a lot more of saying, I'll be there for you. And I love the fact that you're doing something that's different and you're showing your personality. It's very different than how we think about it. It's more about, and it has nothing to do with foosball tables and all those kind of things that people think about. It has more to do with just saying, you're okay. And I'm going to be here for you no matter what you do. And I encourage you to do those things. And I want you to do those things. And that requires you to really think about it. And it requires other people around you to do the hard work that it requires for you to think about who you are, but also everybody else within the organization. And now I know you're not going to do this. I know that this requires too much work, and that's the problem. That's why innovation is actually hard, because all of this requires a great deal of difficult work for you, both behaviorally, but also for yourself to think through what I'm actually saying and what I'm getting you to actually do to encourage all of these sort of interesting things that we could possibly do, but you're not going to do them because that requires too much work. Unfortunately, that's why we don't see a lot of innovation. So really work on it. If you are serious about innovation, you could show your CEO this and tell them, hey, it's hard. And we are gonna have to do some of these kooky things where we are completely counterintuitive to what everybody else is doing. Now, in terms of, how do we actually do this in textbooks and stuff, there is a lot of innovation scholars. Just go into Google Scholar, look up innovation scholars from top universities, and you'll see some of these things. And you'll look at both. I want you to look at both the psychological side, and there's some really great people that are doing psychological stuff, and then as well on the sort of firm side and how to set up structures to allow you to do this stuff. There's a whole bunch of organizational design stuff. There's all sorts of things, but it all comes down to how do we ensure and how do we allow people to do kooky things and we tell them you're okay. That's it. That's how you become more innovative. All right, take care and have a wonderful day. Bye.